Hello, my name's Tom, and I'm back talking about F1 Fantasy. And can we all just agree that Monaco didn't happen? We've had a few weeks off. Miami was the last race. We're going into the Spanish Grand Prix now on the back of a nice break. And yeah, Monaco didn't happen. Maybe it was a bit wet or something. The thunderstorms materialised, and yeah, we never had it. Never happened. But no, honestly, the truth is Monaco happened, and I had a stinker. It was one of those weekends you get these in fantasy games. You just get a weekend, and you just feel really down after it. I feel down about it for a few reasons. Partly because obviously my team didn't score very well, apart from the obvious Max Verstappen Alonso sort of thing. Stroll once again being Stroll the troll, managed a DNF. Hulkenberg did fine as a budget. But then the Perez situation with the final fix, I used final fix on Carlos Sainz, and ultimately massively regretted not going Ocon, which is easy to say with hindsight, but my instinct was telling me go Ocon, and I chickened out of doing it. I went with the safer, less likely to be ridiculed option of picking Carlos Sainz, I guess. Even though I had these visions of Ocon like pulling off a Hungaroring style defense going around Monaco, and yeah, looking back on it, I think it was just a steady decision, go Sainz over Ocon. And again, it could be results oriented thinking, but the writing was kind of on the wall, looking back on it, and I should have gone with my gut, but I didn't, and that's why I'm really left very disappointed. Not more so in myself for not following my instinct, but also in the fact that my team just generally didn't score it well. So a bit of a rank drop, but there we go. We're going back into Spain this weekend, and it's not, once again, the team's not going to change too much because the Red Bulls are obviously going to be strong around here. They're going to be strong around every single track this year. They're going to be dominant around every track, unless the upgrades, which there's going to be a vast array of upgrades coming to Spain this weekend, and it could shake things up a little bit. We definitely want to keep an eye on the likes of Mercedes. If Mercedes suddenly look really strong, even though I don't expect them to suddenly turn on, but you never know, then someone like George Russell is quite an easy change out for Perez. I do think Perez is still going to be in my team, but I do just want to make sure that George Russell's in my mind there, because I think George Russell is looking pretty good this season. He's shown a tendency to improve from qualifying. If we have a look, last year, I kind of funnily enough, he actually was consistently worse going from practice into qualifying. If we scroll across to this year, it's the complete opposite story. George Russell is a standout performer of going from his practice position to qualifying position. He's improved every single time so far this season, and he's improving by 2 or 3 positions each time. So if we see George Russell in practice in that P3, P4, for example, then are we actually seeing him possibly contend for pole? I think that's probably a bit of a stretch. But last year, where are we? Spain. Last year, I think he did actually. Yeah, he got up to. Yeah, he got. Wait, where are we? P4. Yeah, he qualified in P4 last year. And then finished the race in P3. So yeah, I do think George Russell, it could be a good shout. But I don't know. I think it's just there's an option there if the Mercedes suddenly look good. But I think most likely it's going to be another issue. A boring pick of Sergio Perez, who's probably going to bounce back after a real downer of a weekend in Monaco. Alternative to that, Lance Stroll the troll once again. I don't want to be knee jerky and just be like, get out my team so I don't have to look at your face staring back at me on my computer screen. And if it was maybe a different, more of a high downforce track, I think I would definitely stick with Lance Stroll. But I do genuinely think that Pierre Gasly is probably going to be a better pick in almost in Australia. Then we're not, it's hot, but it's not Australia. In Spain, the Alpines I think should be quite good around Spain. We've seen their technical director come out with some quotes saying that they fully expect to be ahead of Mercedes and Ferrari on Spain, which people come out in F1 and they blow their own trumpet quite a lot. So that we can take it with a pinch of salt as to how much that's actually true and how fast the Alpines are actually going to be. But I do genuinely think the Alpines should be good around here. And Gasly's shown some good consistency over the last few races, which Stroll has been unable to do despite me, put my trust in him. So I do think Pierre Gasly could certainly be coming in for me this weekend. That said, however, we look at the DNFs and everything. We just scroll across here. If you look at this column here, this I've ranked this area. This is points purely based off positions gained and lost, overtakes, and then take into account DNFs, because this is more for the budget options really. But it's kind of interesting to see as well that past Verstappen and Perez after their qualifying shenanigans that have seen them start at the back of the grid and make up all the positions which put them at the top here. Third in line actually is Pierre Gasly, which is quite interesting. Again, it helps that he hasn't DNF'd. In terms of positions gained in overtakes, we compare that, 11 positions gained in overtakes compared to Stroll 13, so very tight, Stroll edging it. Then we look at actual overtakes, Gasly was on 26 and Stroll is on 22, so again it's very even, very evenly scored, but the big factor here is that Stroll's had those 2 DNFs, which puts him on minus 40 and a grand total of minus 5 to Gasly's 37 here. And we look at the actual points over the season so far. Gasly has been kind of just steadily plugging away, 10 points per race average, more or less, 64 points in total compared to Stroll's 37. So it's quite, it's not far off doubling what Stroll's got because of Stroll's DNFs. Do I think Stroll's going to DNF around Spain again? It's not necessarily likely, but I do generally think that in terms of actual car performance, that we could see the Alpines get a bit closer and maybe even be better. And the fact is, Stroll is also rubbish at qualifying, and I don't know how easy it's going to be to overtake. If the Aston Martin is a bit slow in the straight line, I'm not sure how easy it's going to be for Stroll if he qualifies back. Once again, we can see this trend of Stroll. This season, 4 times out of 5, he's regressed from practice to qualifying. Last season, he was the absolute worst on the grid. Out of the 15 times I recorded this data, 13 times he regressed from practice to qualifying. So he really doesn't qualify well at all. And we want our picks in this area to qualify well, because we want to make sure they get the points for qualifying, pick up 4 or 5 points for finishing like P5, P6. And then we want to make sure they hold that position and get the points in the race as well. Where Lance Stroll, I'm not convinced is the best option for that necessarily. So I do think, I don't know, all things considered, I think Pierre Gasly might just be getting in the team. That said, you could also argue that Stroll, he's already had 2 DNFs, and therefore he's not gonna, he's kind of not due one for a few weeks maybe, or maybe the rest of the season. And whereas Gasly hasn't DNF'd yet, and he's due a DNF perhaps. It's very rare that a driver would go a whole season, I would say, without any DNFs. So this will probably be the 1 week where the fantasy gods want to just punch you whilst you're down. We make the switch from Stroll to Gasly, and Gasly is then going to DNF. But you've heard it first. If Gasly DNFs, I apologise if he was in your team. I've cursed him. But there we go. I do think Gasly is a good option. Other than that, I think Hulkenberg, although he did kind of okay in a weird roundabout way in terms of fantasy in Monaco, I'm not really a big fan of him in general for fantasy budget options. I think the best option is probably just Guan Yu Zhou, to be honest. I still think Albon is a decent option, but I don't know, he still hasn't quite delivered. But I feel like he's got a performance in him that could be the optimal budget option. But with Gasly in here, I can't actually afford him. I'd have to go Lance Stroll to get Albon on, and I'd rather focus on picking the best sort of mid-price driver than focusing on what I think is the best budget driver. So if I think Gasly's the best option over Stroll, then I'm not that bothered about missing out on Guan Yu Zhou and Albon. And I think the next best pick is definitely Yuki Tsunoda, who is performing really well. The AlphaTauri is one of the slowest, if not the slowest cars on the track, but Tsunoda's driving the pants off it. Again, if we have a quick look at these stats, if we just throw over here, Tsunoda. Where is Tsunoda? Here he is. So he's quite high up in the rankings. Again, he's had that 1 DNF, which I think, was that from the sprint race? I can't remember. Baku. But either way, 28 overtakes puts him quite high up in the leaderboard. In fact, can we rank this? If I just sort this by column I. Is that the right way around? Or is it Z to A? Who knows? It's this way, right, it's the way around. Whatever. So Tsunoda is actually 4th. Yeah, 4th in terms of overtakes. You see Guan Yu Zhou at the top there, overtake Merchant, but like I said, I can't quite afford him if I'm going Gasly. If I could afford Guan Yu Zhou, I'd probably pick him, but I think the next best option is Tsunoda. So for me, in terms of the fact that Tsunoda is able to gain these positions, as well as the overtakes, and the fact that the AlphaTauri looks like it's quite a reliable car so far this season, that even though he had a bit of an issue in Monaco, I do think Tsunoda is definitely potentially a very good option. So I could very much see myself, with 0 money left in the cost cap, I do think I could see myself going into Spain with a team like this. Without a doubt, the DRS boost is going on Max Verstappen. In terms of other chips, I'm not going to be using anything. I will say I had a quick look at the weather, and surprise, surprise, it looks like there could be yet more rain. I don't think that constitutes the need for any chip usage, though. And hopefully it'll just be a bit more of an exciting race. Who knows? But yeah, I think going into this weekend, before the practice sessions happen, I think I'm kind of leaning towards this. I could see myself revert back to Stroll if he looks particularly strong in the practice sessions, and then I might go up to Albon or Guan Yu Zhou. But if Alpine look as strong as I expect, I think I'm probably going to make the switch, bring in Gasly, probably go with Sonoda, sort of go from there. So those are my thoughts and feelings at the moment. I'm sorry if I've come across a little bit negative today. I am just genuinely feeling a little bit down about F1 Fantasy in general at the moment. It's a game that I feel passionate about. In fact, I feel so passionate about the game that I'm literally making videos about it for over a year now. And I just feel a bit let down, to be honest, by the developers, and it pains me to say this. I hate being negative. I hate being negative, saying negative things. But yeah, it's just kind of how I feel. It's one of those days where it's just like got to me a bit, and there we go. But anyway, hopefully the game picks up soon, and hopefully the developers maybe tweak things around a little bit. Who knows? Yeah, so that's it from me. Sorry again for the kind of negative tone towards the end of this video, but I'm hoping for a much better weekend going to Spain. That might cheer me up a little bit. Thanks very much for watching these videos and interacting with me in the comments and on Twitter and everything. I do very much enjoy it. I do my best to reply to comments and everything. I apologise if I miss you, but I do my best. So please leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed for more negativity and depression from me. No, I'm only joking. I'm trying to be a bit more positive for the next video. Anyway, I'll see you probably Friday evening after FP1, FP2 for some further thoughts and to try and sort of get a bit more consolidation of ideas about exactly what team I'm going to go in for the weekend. So yeah, that's it from now, and I'll see you in a couple of days' time. Bye for now. Thanks for watching.